Offhand weapons. Deepwokens offhand weapons are, in my opinion, one of the most poorly designed aspects of Deepwoken as a whole. They're quite literally for the fashion, except for the ones that provide actual function, which is only one of the three in the game. Despite not really providing usage, in today's video I want to go over Deepwoken sidearms and secondary weapons and talk about why they're poorly designed and how I think they should be changed. Before we get into it, make sure to subscribe. Since nobody is, literally 0% people are subscribed. Consult the graph. Look at this. It says 0% of people are subscribed. What are we doing, guys? I have 0 subscribers. What are we doing? Anyway, I'm also live at twitch.tv/Reaconteur Mondays, Wednesdays, and this Friday as well, so go check me out over there. Now let's get straight into it. Number 1, and in my opinion, the worst designed as of now, is going to be the parry daggers and the offhand daggers, which is only 2 in the game right now, but they have been through a few phases. Initially, in old Deepwoken, like pre-release and testing, they increased the parry window, and this was back when in order to parry, you had to press M1 while holding F. So as a whole back then, parrying was harder and was much more prediction based than completely reaction based like it is today, where you kind of just tap F and you parry. You kind of just had to be ready for stuff back then. This made the parry dagger very dominant in the old meta of pre-release Deepwoken, and to counteract this, the devs reworked it and posture along with the parrying system. So now it just increases how much posture you get from parrying. The trade-off for this is that when you're using it, you can no longer two-hand a weapon at the same time, which increases your damage. And the biggest problem I see with the parry dagger is that they just don't really change anything about how you play. They're kind of boring, right? You aren't playing differently with a parry dagger or without one, unless the only real difference is that you do less damage in exchange for having slightly better posture recovery. And it's not necessarily detrimental or designed poorly enough to be something never worth using, as I think that difference between damage and posture recovery should be decided upon by the user rather than the meta. But it varies slightly, but it doesn't even very slightly change your playstyle, and I think it's just kind of boring. So how about this? In exchange for the parry dagger lowering your DPS, because, you know, one-handed difference, allow the person using the parry dagger to parry an attack with less delay than usual. And before someone says that's broken, no it isn't. If you decrease the delay between an attack after a parry while still giving the opponent the opportunity to parry during the new timing, at worst it would catch you off guard once if you're able to adapt to it. And it really just gives more mix-up opportunity in M1 gameplay, which I think is a fun way to incentivize more fun stuff you can do with M1s, because with this, right, then you'd have to react based on whether I go for the normal timing or the closer opening with the reworked parry dagger, and then it punishes you for predict parrying rather than for reacting, and if you react meaningfully enough, it's the same interaction anyway, right? The only problem I could see with this is it once again becoming super meta, because now you can change your parry timing around, but people literally already do this by just timing your M1s and not doing it immediately after parrying. I do this too. This is something that people have been doing since verse 1. So all it really does is kind of just predict parry punish even harder, but I mean that's really not a big deal. Also, I think it's kind of lame. You can't really dual wield daggers in any meaningful way. It'd be cool if using 2 daggers would have a different fighting style, similar to how two-handed gun plays differently from one-handed gun and off-handed gun, which I have a lot to say about offhand gun later, right? So I feel like if you could just dual wield daggers, or maybe use the parrying dagger for some sort of attacks other than that, it would be kind of cool. But I think my idea would also work pretty well, just because you know, you're pairing with a different hand. If you're pairing with your dagger, then you have your other hand free, then obviously, yeah, there would be less delay between when you can attack. That's how people fence, and that's how people fight with swords and parry daggers in real life, right? And then we have shields. Shields are in a very weird spot, but I think they only really have one problem that I don't like. In my opinion, I think they should remove the anti-spine cutter effect that shields have when not equipped with that one talent. I forget what the talent's called, but I think it's dumb that you can negate an entire pretty major talent for no downsides, because if you're running fortitude, which most builds do, then you can just slap a shield on your back for no downside without even needing to use the shield, which under normal circumstances should have a trade-off with basically everything except for fist because of the way they work. If you're running heavy shield, you should be using the shield with a one-handed heavy weapon, decreasing your DPS in exchange for higher posture and the capability to tank things through your block better, right? But there's the secret evil option. You put it on your back for absolutely no downsides, and now you just get to negate spine cutter for free, and you take less back damage, which, you know, you probably also have, meaning that a shield provides free value, and then you also get your own spine cutter, which is just kind of stupid. I think they're fine when used on sidearm, but I don't think a back shield should just negate spine cutter. And before someone says, but not everyone's gonna get that talent, it's 50 fortitude. People go 50 fortitude post shrine, I think almost always anyway, even after the nerfs to reinforce and all that. I'm pretty sure people are still going 50 fortitude. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's still meta to go 50 fortitude, or at least decently high fortitude, right? And regardless, I just don't think that this talent should exist. Either remove it or give it slight damage negation, because what do you mean my spine cutter doesn't proc? I hate you immensely. Then we have the offhand gun. These things are simultaneously super annoying to use while also being kind of ass, for a few reasons. First of all, offhand guns will will not proc any gun talents even if you're using another weapon but still chose gun talents, right? So the only offhand gun talent in the game, I think, is Quick Draw, which is where the annoying stuff comes in because it allows you to follow up your main hand swings with a gunshot directly after. So it's kind of like a shitty hitbox extender, except slow and bad. Now, the other minimal problem that I see is that even if your offhand gun is enchanted, it will always mimic your main hand weapon. So if your main weapon is unenchanted, no enchant. But if it is enchanted, you will have that enchant on both weapons, which means that your offhand gun being enchanted just allows it to be enchanted with the enchant of your main hand weapon, which means an offhand gun can be enchanted with any enchant and it will be effectively the same at most of the time. Now, the easiest way to make offhand, and then the third and the biggest issue is that you can't feint. They're so bad. They're so obscenely bad. The feint button is the same button that you use to shoot your offhand gun. So a lot of the time when you're trying to feint your main weapon, you'll accidentally chain it into a shot, which means that you'll just end up going for a shot and then you'll get parried anyway, leaving you at a defensive standpoint afterwards. And then also, apparently there's a bug right now. I don't know if it's still going on, but there was a bug last time I checked where people's offhand guns would just feint automatically even though they only pressed M2 once. So they'd go M1, M2 to shoot, right, after follow-up, and then it would auto-feint the gun. So it would literally just like feint the gun for them, and now you just spent like 10 seconds doing nothing and you gave your opponent a free opening every time you try to use the gun. So if you're going against offhand gun, just spam M1. Be one of those dirty M1 and parry spammers, and yeah, you'll probably win. So the easiest way to make offhand guns not obscenely terrible is to give them independent bindings, right? Like, I think that's pretty important. Like, you guys already give them independent buttons to reload with Z and X. Why don't we give it a different button to shoot the offhand gun, you know? Which I also have an idea for this involving motifs maybe that we could use, who knows, right? But also, you should just, like, I should be able to press M2, feint my regular weapon, not shoot with my gun, and not feint with my gun either. Because why does it do that? It's so bad. Another way that you could deal with offhand guns is, you know, just like give them independent enchants. I can already hear people saying this is a bad idea, but I never said this was the best option for offhand guns. Now, did I? I just think it's something that the devs would do because they're kind of lazy sometimes and usually choose the path of least resistance when it comes with buffs. So, you know. Now, instead of doing that, we could actually do maybe something cool with the motif system. You guys remember motifs, the mechanic devs added like a year ago that would let you switch out your critical attack? Devs abandoned. Yeah, motifs. Why don't we let offhanded guns let you use gun criticals and motifs, and then gun criticals and talents by stance changing to use your guns in your main hand maybe, right? Boom, easy fix. So let's say you're using some dumb shit like Pale Morning offhand gun. I don't know why you would use this, but let's just say you're using it, right? Switching stances with Y would then put your Pale Morning away and switch you into one-handed gun mode, which isn't great, but it could provide some good utility as well as the ability to use your gun talents and mixing up with criticals. It would also provide more usage for stance changes, you know, the other forgotten mechanic like motifs that the developers added for realism, which, like, when has stance changing ever been relevant in Deepwokens? Someone let me know. The answer is never. I don't think it ever has been. And this isn't necessarily relevant to offhand guns, but why are guns blunt damage? This is another point someone made in one of my last videos, but they should add like a third damage type called pierce for stuff like guns, rapiers, stabbing weapons, stuff like that, right? And as I said recently, they should differentiate protection types, because as it is now, there's no reason for there to be slash and blunt protection stats differed on the menu when all armor just has physical protection, which has the same values for both slash and blunt. So let's add a third damage type for pierce. Well, I mean, we don't really need to. We could just move the pierce stuff like guns and stuff to slash, but it would provide more variety and give more depth to armor kits. And then we would differentiate physical protection on kits into slash and blunt damage protection, or like slash and blunt and pierce, stuff like that. And now people gotta think about their kits, and we have a little bit of rock, paper, scissors style matchups that keep a game healthy for larger team fights where one person's weakness can be compensated for by other people. And before someone complains about this, because I don't want to lose rock, paper, scissors, stop playing Chime, you fucking loser. Make some friends and go play the game with them instead. But you don't have friends. You're a dirty Chime player. You're a Chime player. I know you don't have any friends. Yeah, you don't got a single friend. You lonely fuck. Anyway, that was a bit off topic, but you get it. Anyway, there are literally only 3 types of offhands, so I don't have too much to cover here. You have the guns, shields, and parry daggers, and in my opinion, they're all poorly designed with the exception of shields, which are usually fine, but I don't think they should negate spine cutter. If you guys have any other potential ideas for how these weapons could all be reworked in a way that would make them actually viable, drop it down in the comments below. And also, before someone says that shields should negate spine cutter, shut up. No, they shouldn't. Nothing in the game should provide free value. Just think about it like a fighting game. If it provides free value, it's not balanced very well. Doesn't matter what the value is, bro. Shouldn't be free. Anyway, I'll have a song cover for you guys this week. It's going to be Burning Desire. by Lana Del Rey. Yeah, I sing mostly in feminine vocal patterns, so, you know, I like music like that to sing with because I actually sound pretty good. Anyway, I'm almost done with it, so Sunday the latest if you want to hear my song covers by YouTube membership of any tier. And shoutouts to YouTube members of tier 2 or higher: Brick, Philip, Delusional Mo, Elstern, Fun Guns, Broccoli, Carlia the Witch, Akio Sugikuni, Vekazu, Burger, Highcard, IXKMB, and Drizzy Drake fan, and also Alka-GD3. He's only tier 1, so this will be a one-time shout out, but I like his profile picture as a little Among Us guy, so one-time shout out for you, Alka. Anyway, I love you all. Have an amazing day as usual. Check out my live channel and Twitch, and goodbye.